All right, everybody, today we've got a final version of this plastic prototype ramp I've been 3D printing out. From the last video till now, I've gone through, I've had to make several iterations, changing some locations, changing different angles to dial it in. I think we've got one that's pretty near perfect now that we'll be able to use to do some more play testing and all that. So here it is. We've got one part here already attached, bottom part, but this is the rest of the ramp. As you can see, it's much thinner, much more low profile. Saved me a lot of time on plastic and printing time to do that. We need to have it thick here up towards the top. It's a very steep ramp, and so we need to make sure there's probably even going to have to be like a clear cap on top maybe, just to make sure the ball isn't jumping. We'll see when we start shooting. I'm afraid it could be jumping quite a bit. So it's very tall up here, but it didn't need to continue so tall the rest of the way down. It doesn't need to have a giant habit trail for the ball. And that allowed me also, because when we do the metal, it'll be thinner also. That allowed me to tighten up the height of these curves a little bit, so it's not having to take up quite so much height, which is good to make sure there's plenty of room for the ball to travel underneath it. Anyway, needless to say, plenty of iterations. I think we've got one that's going to work. Let's get it installed. Let's see how it goes. Now, this piece here, I don't know why I did this. I have a nub here on the outside, so it's actually kind of connecting to the top of my side rail. I'm going to move that nub for the screw here on the other side, and we'll have a post here supporting it from that side. There's going to be plenty of room to put it there also. I don't know how well you can see these pencil marks here. Basically what I've been doing here, though, I've been going back and forth between attaching the ramp, snapping those into place, okay, and then going through and trying to get an idea of, okay, where are my drop targets going to fit and not collide, because I want to have drop targets underneath this, okay? And then in front of the drop targets, if you remember, we have that shot we wanted to make. If you remember, we had that shot we wanted to make to where if you're looking towards the ramp on the playfield, we want to be able to have a shot come in right here underneath the ramp that's going to join over here into the orbit. Okay, so we need to put a control gate here, a one-way gate, okay, here at some point, depending on where that's going to be, to make sure the ball only goes one direction. When it comes back the other way, it's going to actually come down the orbit. That's where we want it to go. So been trying to go through and kind of figure all that out. And so that's what these pencil marks are from, of me putting the ramp there, then going through and seeing, okay, where does this need to line up? So let me show you basically how I've been doing that. All right, so we got the ramp in place, okay, and we went through and we looked here. I said, okay, looking, underneath, okay, where do we need that? How much height? How much room do you need? So again, about 1.5 inches, right? Okay, at which point of the ramp can it clear? I went through, I took that, I went through and I drew a line, okay? And then I used that with a straight edge and I kind of brought it out and ended up connecting through here. Not all my final lines are there, and making sure it was going to hit at a decent spot on the flipper, not way up high or way down low, okay? And I think we're good. And then I went through again, measured out about 1.1 inches here for the very top, marked that so I knew what each sides of that lane was going to need to be for its entrance. It widens out beyond that. Anyway, and then going through basically seeing, okay, how much space, how wide, how thick does that need to be, all the way through here. And that let me know basically at what point do I have room to start putting in drop targets, okay, with enough clearance. So I did that there, roughly traced around the drop targets so I know about the placement, okay, and the size. That's what all these pencil scratches are for, just going through and trying to make sure we've got space for all these things we want to have going on here. So we've got to go through and put a control gate in here, right? This is where I ran into a little bit of an issue, okay? All modern control gates look like this, okay? They've got a one-way wire. You can go through this way, but not this way, okay? They've got a metal flat. They can be modified to be controlled by magnets if you want. They've got a nice, short, kind of low-profile place here for the screws, so it feels like there's plenty of room to put this in here. But they're tall. They're very tall. This guy he's almost 2 inches tall, about 1 3/4 inches, a little bit more. And that does not give me enough room for this part of my ramp. It hits the back of my ramp. It starts hitting in here. So there's a different type of wire gate, old school. That's just a wire. It goes one direction, okay? And if you can tell here in the height, okay, it's much shorter. I went through, measured it, works great. But look at the flanges. Look at how thick this flange is compared to this one. It's like ginormous. My grinder hasn't arrived yet, so I can't just cut this down and grind it. We're going to make it work. I can shove it back in a little bit more. It's just not exactly the way I want it. Would like this to be placed, but it will work. We'll make it work. So let's get this gate in place. All right. So I measured through here, just has enough space and room. We're going to need to go through and have a little bit of a metal wire form coming up here, forming that, stopping right there, maybe with a little blue nub. Should work. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is figure out where to drill the hole for the post right here that's going to hold this ramp in place. All right. A couple of different ways. I went through and just took a screw and a few of these, 2 different sizes, screwed it in, and then had that, then kind of drew around that with pencil again on the play field to tell me, okay, this is where the center of that needs to be. So I did that, and then pre-drilled a hole. We're going to take this piece out also because this metal is a little bit too short. We're going to need to recreate this piece. It needs to come out a little further along here to come up along the side of the ramp. Again, didn't know exactly how long we needed until we had the ramp done. Another reason to do all this in CAD and Visual Pinball Designer first, so you know exactly where things are going to fit. Okay, so I went through and I drilled, pre-drilled, kind of like a pilot hole here, right, all the way through. Just a little bit smaller, about 11/16, and we're going to have this post go through. And this post, with a 1 1/4 plastic bushing, will come down. It'll help protect from the ball coming back this direction also. So, using our 1/4 inch nut driver, we're going to get that guy screwed in place. Now, normally we'd have a T-nut on the bottom side of the playfield that this would be screwing into. I haven't gone through and routed out and made recesses yet for the T-nuts. That's going to be a later, more final stage of playfield build. So we've got a nylon locking nut. There we go. That's a number 8. There. So that's nice and secure. We can put that little protector on. That post doesn't come up high enough. So we need to measure that, see how much gap there is, and we'll need to get one of these metal hex spacers, okay, to go in there. So I'm totally blocking the camera, I apologize. A little more than 1 1/4. Let's try with 1 1/4 and see. That gets us pretty good to where we need to be. Then we need to screw down the front of the ramp. So we've got these little angled head screws. This one's about 3/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch. I think it's a 1/2 inch. Could probably use a 3/4 really, but 1/2 inch is what I have right now. All right. Again, not a production quality setup here, but it should be plenty good for us to play test. So long as the ramp stays together. We might need to go through and super glue a few of these joints together. But for now, I like being able to take it apart and go back and forth. And now we can shoot underneath. Everything clears. How you can see that. And then we've got this upper flipper that we had to go through and add. So it's a 1/2 inch hole that I drilled through. The way I measured my placement, and I don't pretend to think it's perfect. We're going to play test it. I think it might actually need to come down just a little bit. I think this shot's going to be a little too much on the tip of the flipper for what I want. But what I did before I drilled it, when I was messing with this, I basically took straight edge and said, okay, what's kind of the angle for this shot? Okay, let me go through and figure out about where that's going to hit. Okay, and I'm worried that, I'm going to be a little too far. But I was going through and doing that and saying, okay, what's going to be a good placement and have enough angle? This can probably be a little bit more shallow and come down a little bit, but we'll test it and see. We can always go through and adjust it in Fusion so our final drill holes will be in the right spot. Okay, so next thing we need to do is cut a new piece of metal and bend this piece again and get that to come in around here on this edge better, and then get a metal guide for this inside shot, 2 of them that we can put in place to be practicing that shot. All right, so we're going to tuck this out of the way and we're going to cut some more metal. There we go. Look at that, coming right up to the ramp. This pretty damn good. We can put a post behind that during pre-assembly to help kind of hold that in place so it doesn't get bent out of shape or anything. All right. Now these metal ball guides in here. Did I give you a proper look? There we go. I'm excited. So I'm thinking this is looking pretty good. It's not perfect. We still got a few things to tweak out. But I think we're getting pretty close on this ramp. Now, I don't know if you noticed, probably not, but I actually moved my flipper down towards the front of the playfield about half an inch. And I think that improved it. I was just so far on the tip of this flipper trying to make this ramp shot that it was not really working too well. Nailing this shot in here, like over and over. I still feel like we might be a little high. So I'm gonna got my 1/2-inch drill bit. Woo, I've got my jigsaw over here. I got my screwdrivers. I got my handy dandy tape measure. I got my little spanner. I've also got the 4-bank drop target and some stand-ups. And we're gonna go through and put those in. So I think we'll take off this flipper. I'm gonna slide it down about another 1/2 inch, another post width pretty much. And then let me show you kind of where we end up on here and how we got that shot working through here. I think it's working pretty good. Okay, so if you can see that what we ended up with here, we've got this one-way gate, okay, the lower profile one that will fit underneath the ramp, okay? And then I added this piece of metal here. I did originally have 2 ball guides in here coming out, and I feel like it just worked better with just the one. It opened it up a little bit more. It does mean, though, with the ramp being right there, if you saw that video, there were some shots that were coming in and hitting the ramp like right here, like jumping and skipping. So we're gonna need to go through and just put a little post right here to help block that. That way the ball won't be jumping and skipping around so much. It's also gonna protect the ramp, whether it's plastic or metal. We don't want the ball just nailed on that entirely. Either it's gonna be bad for the ramp, it's gonna ding the ball. Either way, it's not gonna be good. So we'll put a little post right in here with a sleeve to protect that. And then I'm thinking, I don't know that we really need a ball guide in here. We're just going to let the shot come through. There's nowhere else for it to go. I don't foresee anything being able to get hung up. We might need to put, maybe we'll have to put a little something here, post with a little rubber. We'll have to see. We'll do a lot of play testing and we'll see where the ball gets hung up. All right, and that allows, we've got just enough clearance. The ball goes through here just fine. Okay, it doesn't get hung up. So I feel like these horseshoe shots are also really tight, tighter than what I wanted. I mean, I wanted it kind of tight because it's right at the middle, so it's fairly easy to line up. It's a decent place to have tighter shots. But with these little mini stand-ups and everything, I don't know. I'm starting to rethink that a little bit. I feel like there's just too much just bricking off these stand-ups. As I'm play testing, there's way too many chances, and maybe it's just because these are springy, for the ball just to be flying back in your face and popping everywhere, just a little too out of control, and not a real purpose for hitting these shots. Anyway, so we'll experiment on that. But today, for right now, I want to focus down here. I don't know if you saw these pencil lines here, but my whole thought is underneath this ramp. Remember, the ramp starts here and continues, all the way around. So underneath this spot, not only is there going to be a shot going underneath here, but then right in front of that, also accessible from this flipper, but also pretty much any of these. I think you'll even be able to backhand it some. I want to have this bank of drop targets. Okay, and behind that, I want some stand-ups, because that's how we're going to spell Zeppelin. 8 letters in Zeppelin last time I counted. So we'll have 2 rows here. The front 4 will be drop targets, ZEPP. As you knock them down, that'll then expose the stand-up target behind it, is my thought, if we can get these to fit, the depth. And this can be then the ELIN behind that. So that's how you can spell out all of Zeppelin. I made it plenty wide enough. Let's take it down and try it out. All right, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I think the drop targets and the stand-ups there, they're working, they're not blocking the shot. There's a lot of other just slingshot action, ends up nicking some of them. Can't quite sweep it with the left flipper, but you can come close. So you're able to get 3 down in one shot pretty consecutively. Definitely got kind of some brick action going on with some of these guys up here. So I think I might swap out a couple of those with just posts. We got to put a post in here so the ball stops jumping over the ramp so much. But I like the progress. I like where we're going with this. I think this is going to be coming along nice here. So, all right. The next thing up, we've got get the other ramp in. We've got to, I mean, there's so much to do. Upper playfield, this diverter. I think I might work on that diverter next. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, hope you're having fun watching, guys. And if you haven't started building your own pinball machine yet, why not? Come on. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Okay, has yet to be proven if I really can do it, but still, we're trying, right? Okay, guys, talk to you next time. Bye-bye.